Okay, what's going on, everybody? Obviously, it's a Thursday, and we are not playing a game today. But what we are doing is painting. So I may or may not have had gotten all the stuff set up to play a game, and with me staying later at work, the time between getting home and starting this is not terribly long. So I just threw together the painting setup, and we're going to work on that because I was probably going to do a little bit of painting today anyhow. I am slowly kind of pecking away. I finally just pulled the trigger and bought the Marvel Crisis Protocol starter set, the smaller one. That whole starter box confusion is confusing. There's two boxes, one of which is a little bit grander for a little bit more money. It's got better sculpts, and apparently the assembly is better, which, if this assembly was anything to go off of, it couldn't be much worse, because dear God, were these some of the most frustrating things that I put together. Like this arm. This arm and the top half of the gauntlet and the hand were separate pieces. Why they wouldn't just make that all one piece, who knows? Because this arm, I think, was all one piece. So I'm not a modeler, but boy, did that not make any sense to me. That just is what it is, I suppose. Most of it was kind of fine, but like Cap's shoulders were separate pieces. His little pouches on his belt were separate pieces. Zemo's elbow pads, these tiny little specks, were separate pieces. It was just a fiddly, kind of a pain to put together. And I did not enjoy it. Like Ultron's legs being like 5 pieces just doesn't make any sense to me. So the bigger set apparently is better, but I wanted this specifically, this Cap sculpt. I wanted to paint this one specifically because I wanted the leather harness, because I wanted to paint him a little closer to like an Infinity War Cap versus like the bright, obnoxious Infinity War Cap. Yeah, I mean, that's true. This obviously is older. But one of the things, like Doc Ock's tentacles, some of them were cast in one piece, and then some of them were cast like with this weird flat split in them, and they were kind of a pain to like have actually want to glue together. It's a gripe. I just started taking some of the little sprues, because they are almost on like their own individual little character sprues, to work, and just gluing them together in downtime, because I'm not super picky about like cleaning up bits and pieces, so an X-Acto knife and my snippers was enough. But one of the things I want to try to do on these, so this guy, I am an abuser of speed paints, and I want to try to get better at that. So I've just been buying random, like regular acrylic colors that I actually like. So like the Warpaint Fanatic line I've really liked. The newer Vallejo Game color I like. So like these bottles I've really liked. A lot of the colors that I have pre-existing are these, and I hate these. These are terrible. I don't know if I'm just an idiot, but they seem awful. So I was hesitant to get more of them, but whatever this new line of it is way better. So I have a couple of these, and I bought like a handful of the Fanatic paints, and they've been better. So the goal is to try and get better at traditional painting within reason. Obviously, there's nothing wrong with speed paints, but I want to get better at certain things. So like this cap, I base coated a dark blue and then did a couple layers of like a brighter blue because it was super dark. I did paint it much closer to Infinity War cap, but that dark of a blue and a black star doesn't read super well. Oh, thanks for the sub, Martin. That dark of a blue and a black on the star just didn't read super well. So I did brighten it back up. This is almost closer to like what he looked like in Winter Soldier from a blue perspective. And then this is kind of a rendition of Cap, loosely based off of Infinity War. And then that shield is specifically from a reference in Winter Soldier when Bucky had the shield, I think. So I just went with like a damage shield because obviously he didn't have the circle shield in Infinity War, but I went with a more MCU-inspired Cap, which I was really happy with. Now, I did use speed paint for the brown because I just really, really love that brown. That's Fire Drake brown. And then the boots, I did mix up some colors and then went back in and did some kind of scratchy, kind of loose, like highlighting over the darker brown on the boots. I'm just trying some different things, but painting the shield, as tiny as it is, was so much more of a nightmare than I expected to have the lines look clean, but I'm happy with the result. So this guy is why I bought the smaller box, because I wanted this sculpt specifically. Basically, all of the other sculpts I think are better. Oh, and this Iron Man. I like this Iron Man better. It's closer to the movies, which is where my frame of reference really comes from. And this Red Skull is pretty good. The other Red Skull looks kind of funny. But for the most part, I liked all the other sculpts a little bit better. I don't mind some of the ones in this, like Zemo's fine, Crossbones is fine, Widow's fine. I don't like this Spider-Man. It just seems kind of dumb. Why would he be sticking to this like on a ground level? Just doesn't make any sense to me. I get they wanted it to be dynamic, but it just seems kind of dumb. Just have him stand on top of it. I don't know. We get it. He's sticky. I don't know. Anyways, all of that to say, I am going to be trying to paint most of these. Now, obviously not all of these, because there are just applications for speed paints, and that's just going to be the way that it is. I have based Ultron. Now, I did a Zenithal over this, and then did an airbrush kind of Zenithal over the top. So he's a little smidgen darker on the bottom, and a little smidgen brighter on the top. But I think this looks fine. And then I'll have to go in and do some brush work with all of the red. But he's based. So we're getting there. Some of the terrain has been kind of blanket based with some prep. But I'm not in a huge rush to get this painted. I just want to learn how to do stuff. So we may do some more painting. I got stuff going on currently in real life that is taking up a lot of my mental capacity. So we're going to chill out. We're going to paint a little bit, try to get at least Widow's suit mostly done. I also want to try maybe a little bit more than just the typical speed paint on the hair. I don't know if I'm going to get to that today. And then probably play a little bit of World of Warcraft or something. Playing that some more. But all this is right now on Widow is Game Color Charcoal. I like this. I bought this because they didn't have a black and I wanted a black. I bought this as a substitute. And I kind of like it because it's a dark gray, and you can go darker and lighter from there. So this is charcoal with known oil over it. And I'm going to use that as my base. I think it's going to be kind of weird because known oil has a sheen to it. And this is very matte. Now, I think I'm still going to use this as my mid. And I'm going to go from there. So I'm going to do some kind of highlighting with this. And then we'll do a lighter color on top of that. Now, it is supposed to be leathery. Which, to be honest, I mean, hell, you could just leave it exactly how it is and it'd be fine. But again, the purpose of this is to learn a little bit. So I'm going to try to highlight up a good amount. I don't exactly know where I'm going, but we're going to try anyways. So I'm going to do a little bit of highlighting back with this color, and it's going to feel like look weird because she's supposed to be, or it's going to be like shiny on parts and then matte on others, but hopefully a clear coat at the end will tie all of that together, and if it doesn't, oh well. And now I haven't painted anything on camera in a while, so this is going to be a little interesting. Now, again, I don't have any good reference as to how to do this because I don't paint this way. So I'm going to be kind of winging it a little bit, but it'll probably be fine. Going to be the other kind of hard part, is painting right up under this light. Should be a aid. I feel like it's probably going to be a hindrance. But almost all of these are probably going to be a little bit more MCU kind of inspired. To what end exactly, I don't know. Like Doc Ock. I might try to go with his colors and then just dull them down and make them a little less vibrant so he's not as kind of obnoxiously comic book colored, and go from there. Probably also not using a great brush for this, but I also think something that I'm not particularly good at is highlighting in a way that like right now this doesn't look super obvious to me, but like I am obviously putting paint on things, but it's like just kind of trusting the process of doing the thing that I'm doing. And I haven't decided. I might do black speed paint on the Widow's Bite little gauntlet things, and probably on the gun, but I don't know how I want to go about doing the boots yet because I want them to be slightly different from the flight suit like thing that she's got going on. But also coming from more of a like pencil drawing side of things, where the goal is, you know, transitions and stuff to be nice and smooth, compared to like a painting background where you kind of paint for what it would look like from far away versus what it looks like up close, if that makes sense. And I have a hard time seeing things, I guess, that way. So it's like painting it scratchy highlights and stuff, but like when you back up and look at it, it like looks fine, you know? But I'm pretty sure I'm painting something shiny. I want to make more abrupt, quick jumps in color. So we got a different gray. Also, I'm not entirely sure like how quick this should be, this process. Or kind of how exaggerated, I guess. And also, I guess, need to be kind of careful that it doesn't end up looking gray. That looks okay-ish. more or less. Now, go even brighter. Or do we just go straight to like a pure gray and then to a white? Or do we just skip the gray and go straight to a white? Trying to be maybe a little more dramatic than usual, just because I feel like typically the way that I would go about doing this, you don't really ever end up being able to see it super well. Granted, honestly, I'm, I don't know, kind of liking what we're looking at so far. That'd be great. I don't know if I love what's going on back here in the business area, but it's all right. Now I think we need a little bit of white in some spots, so we get the shiny part of this. Or at least that's the thought. I don't love it. I got a little too overzealous with the white. But we're committed now, so. Yeah, I don't know. I kind of hate it now. I think it was better with just the gray, I'm not gonna lie. Actually, I kind of liked where it was going until I put the white on it. The white just feels like so much. Maybe it's just too much white. Just kind of going back to that gray that I used previously to try to undo some of this, because I liked it pretty good. So I put this. Damage might already be done for this little fella. And maybe this will tint everything back down enough, putting this directly over the white to kind of get the effect that I was looking for anyways. Okay, let's see. I mean, I guess under super harsh light, it's not great, but I like the front, I think. Get a little bit of gray to hit a bit of this collar. It's a little bit better. I'm a little torn here, I'm not gonna lie, and I don't think there's any good way to show it. I like the front. I think my biggest culprit is these two big flat spots. Like, I think this looks fine. I think it kind of gets the point across. This, I think, is just too much, maybe. Let's see if I can't go back to this kind of darker gray and maybe do a thin coat over top. Just to try to knock this down a little. Let that dry a little and see where that gets us. But kind of quickly I get to a spot that I don't hate. Guess it's going to come through any better on this little camera. It's not going to focus. I don't know how I want to handle the belt or really anything else, because on the MCU Widow, everything's just kind of black. Now it's kind of feel like it's too dark. It needs like a tiny little bit of highlight, but I think I just don't know where to put it. Okay, I'm gonna leave that alone for now. We'll maybe come back to that. I think I want to try to tackle the hair. Now, I could base coat this and then try to kind of highlight it. Don't know if I'm going to be able to do that, especially because I've got this dark red, which would probably be a good base. I don't have particularly great other colors to highlight it with. I've got this orange, maybe. You know what? Or do I base coat it with a speed paint and then edge a highlight kind of with some other colors? That might be a better idea. Although this orange and this red could work, but I feel like that might end up looking a little weird. Let's go with a slaughter red base speed paint, and then we'll do a little bit of highlighting. Now, my goal is to try to learn some things here, but that is part of this. So I'm not gonna just strictly use whatever for the sake of it. If I think I've got a better game plan, which I think I want to try to use some of the zenithal that's here. Tricky thing with hair is trying to get it all covered before it kind of starts to dry. I'll probably use regular acrylics for the skin, but still just trying to be as kind of careful as I can be. Now, I think I'm gonna try to mix up a dark red orange to try to do my highlighting. My problem, I think, for doing stuff like this is I can't find a good brush that works for that kind of task, I guess. It's also kind of funny. The auto white balance just kind of went crazy, huh? Or orange. There's gonna be orange now. Whatever. I'm trying to think if I've ever actually used this orange. This is one of those colors that I bought just because I knew that I didn't like the one that I had. Yeah, this should work, I think. I've never tried to paint individual strands of hair. We're gonna try it today. Now, again, the belt, I'm gonna leave because I don't know what I want to do with the belt. But we can try to tackle these straps potentially. And I kind of want to just re-base coat them in the gray that I used so that the holster and the straps are all a slightly different color than everything else. And then highlight that, just hit them with like an edge highlight or something. Maybe we'll do that. So I'm basically just covering up the Nuln Oil that we put over top of all of this, which I didn't put it on the holster, but I didn't think about the leg. think comic version of these are like yellow, orange or something. But I kind of want a more real world kind of feel for these characters if I can get them there. Again, kind of in the same vein as this, like not as bright and obnoxious and comic booky. We'll go with a tiny little bit more subtlety. Again, the boots, I don't know how I want to handle them. Honestly, if I can get everything else looking the way I want, I might just paint them black and do an oil wash over them and let them be kind of a glossy, satiny black, and just however they look is how they're going to look. And I'll just let everything else be the focal point. I don't know yet. Okay, so now I need a decent brush. This is kind of my other problem, is even like thinning down these paints so they don't dry instantly. I have a hard time kind of keeping them dry or wet enough to kind of let me try to paint the individual strands. Probably not going to be able to see this super well, but I'm kind of just trying to paint the let's see. This is just for the speed paints, which, man, this white balance is not loving you guys. It's weird. I guess it's just when this blue comes in, it's like, hey, we're gonna be orange now. The poppet is for speed paints, and I've got a wet palette off screen for the regular paints, which I don't use a whole lot. I've also got, I think, kind of crappy paper, I'm not gonna lie, so that probably doesn't help a ton, but yes, I am using a wet palette, kind of. I just use the poppets for the speed paints because they're just easier to manage, and it's not like you use a ton of that. Like this orange and red is almost not obvious enough and too obvious on some parts at the same time. which again, this is the first time I've ever tried to paint hair with any other form of paint other than just throw a speed paint on this sucker and call it a day. So most time that is fine, but if we are in the realm of trying new things, well, I might as well. Now, I think get a tiny little bit more, and then I think I'm going to do just a straight orange pass. On some of it. Okay. Kind of okay. Still not 100% sold on this jumpsuit, but it looks good to my eyes, I think. Which also gives me a whole lot more respect for like the Golden Demon painters of the world, because them painting stuff that looks good hyper up close is impressive to me. But I don't know, I think that's okay. I am gonna try to do a little bit of this orange just straight. I don't think I've ever used this orange. Do a little bit of this orange kind of just for a little bit more texture. Really trying not to overdo or smush this orange into something. It's giving me McDonald's vibes for some reason. Can't. A little bit of just an edge highlight on the end there. Right, I think that's fine. I'm good with that. It's a little different. It's got a little bit more character to it than just the speed paint. I like the way it looks in my hand. I'm good with that. Yeah, I don't know how well this comes across on camera, but I also can't really see my camera super well because it's like almost right at my eye line. So the best I got is looking over at the OBS, which is a little delayed, or the stream. But yeah, I think I'm good with that. What time are we going for? An hour-ish already. Again, I don't know what I want to do with that belt at all. I kind of want to go with the gold just because it would be such a good contrast. But then at the same time, I feel like it might stand out a lot. I think we try to tackle the straps and the holster right quick. That should not be terrible. I think I'm just gonna take a gray, do a little bit of highlighting, and then take a white and do a tiny little bit of something. Okay, it's fine. Not looking for these straps to be super anything, to be honest. But a little bit of something. A little bit of highlighting on them suckers. Nothing crazy. Good with that. Plain old. Now, the web shooters. The widow's bite thingies. Yeah, the known oil kind of got. I think painting into the V of this chest might be a little bit problematic, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Let's whip out some speed paint and get it on these bracers and see where that gets us there. Because I think they should be shiny. They should look different, but I don't want to go black with known oil, although that might help to kind of tie it into the boots if I start doing that. This is just a grim black speed paint. I'll use these. More or less covered. And hell, maybe we just put a known oil over this anyways. And do a just a white highlight. I'm gonna be able to get into all of that. Yeah, we didn't get to most of it, I think. Part it is. It's hidden in there, but probably fine. I almost have half the mind to go black speed paint on the boots just for something different, but this is working out well enough. I think I'm missing, like on the front, there's a little bit of brightness, and on the back, I got rid of most of it, I think, much as I don't want to. I need to try to get a little bit of a bright spot on the back to kind of match the front. I think we go relatively small. Just enough to try to match a little bit of the brightness on the front. Just a tiny little bit of ever so slightly gray white mix. No, I don't hate it. Again, I'm not super great at that style of painting, I guess. Let's see. I think it mostly reads black, especially in my hand it reads black. It's a little bit brighter in person, but I think it, I don't know, I think it gets the point across. I do think I need maybe a tiny little bit of this gray white on top of the arm. It would be bright. Now it looks a little more balanced, I think. I'm not going to bother with that. That's all right. Be happy with that hair. I think it could use maybe a tiny little bit more something, but I'm going to leave that as a good first pass, I think. Also, I'm going to take this black speed paint while I got it and paint this gun. The bracers look different enough. But I think they need, is it blue? They need some form of blue, I think, on them. I'm gonna do that. Right now I am. Take a little bit of white. A tiny little bit of highlighting on the top ones. This is a mostly white. Might have a tiny little mixture of gray in it. And the goal with using the different paints is, because it's all kind of black, kind of want it to at least look like somewhat different blacks, which is part of why I'm undecided on what to do with the belt, because I don't want to do it gold, and that's what it's supposed to be. I know I need some form of red on the widow in the middle. Now I could leave it as it is, paint the widow in the middle black, or red, and then paint the little circles, the little gems in the middle red. It's a little excessive. I could leave it how it is and just paint the widow in the middle black. I don't know. I don't really know what I want to do with the boots yet. The face, I think we can at least a little bit done with the face. Now, again, this is still something I'm trying. I did pick this triad colors up, and I don't know if I love them. It almost seems like there's not a dark enough, like, base color to work up from, while also having a habit of painting like skeletons. So it never ends up looking quite right, I don't think. I think painting faces would definitely be easier with somebody like in person being able to watch it. But this first color is agate skin. That's what I'm starting with. I'm not as worried with coverage as I am with trying to create my baselines to work off of right this second. Like with the hair and stuff. Now, again, I think painting inside this collar is going to be a bit of a pain. We're going to try. Be about just trying to find the right angles to slice this. And obviously I can kind of touch up these edges afterwards, which might honestly be a tiny little bit easier. Not a terrible first pass. I'm going to do a second coat of this color just because typically when I'm doing these skins, I kind of don't, just because it ends up mostly being covered up anyways, but I'm missing a little bit up under the chin that I can't quite get to. I'm not going to worry about it because you're not going to be able to see it, I don't think. Leave it. Now I'm going to swap over to this smaller brush. Now the second color in this is Barbarian Flesh. But again, I think I can't easily visualize what it should look like. I think painting faces, like actually doing like the highlighting process, is one of those things that once you figure it out, it clicks and makes a whole lot of sense. And until then, it doesn't make any sense. It's kind of what I feel like I'm getting out of the process, but I feel like I just end up with like skeleton syndrome on a lot of these. Feel quite thin enough. but also along the lines of my talking about not having like a dark enough base skin tone almost to work off of. I feel like that would almost exaggerate like the kind of not really understanding how to paint super well the highlights on the face. But then on the other hand, I feel like it would almost make it look better because there's a little more contrast. I don't know. I mean, if I could get this to work. Sure how well. Or I use this. You might be able to see kind of what I'm talking about. I think this might be one of the maybe better attempts I've had, but her facial features are a little bit more like obvious. I will obviously paint eyes on that, but to be honest, I think I'm okay with that. I try to keep it like relatively basic. So it's like base coat the face, mid-tone hit most of the, like basically the whole top of the forehead, the nose, most of the cheeks, like most of the obvious things, and then a little bit less with the like highlight color, which is this ruby skin, the third color in that triad. I kind of want to get the darkest tone of that color scale. Try to mix that in, but to be honest, I don't hate that. Again, in my hand, it's looking pretty good. I think I'm pretty happy with that. Especially, I think the suit reads well enough. And the hair attempt, I think, is good. And all of this ain't bad for like, I don't know, an hour and 20 minutes or so worth of work. This will probably get finished off camera. I still need to paint the boots, finish up the face, and decide what I want to do with that belt. And then this will go on a base. And I don't know. I went ahead and just painted up all of the street sidewalk type bases. And then I've got the two with the doors on them unpainted. So I don't know what I want to do with that yet. But Widow will probably go on one of these, I think. That seems like a decent enough plan, because Spidey probably needs to go on a flat. Zemo, well, Captain Marvel might go on a flat because she's got the rock. Zemo's got a little rock, so he might go on one of these. Maybe I'll put her on another sewer grate thing, because Iron Man might make more sense on this, since this one. I don't know, I'm rambling. It is what it is at this point. But I find the Shatterpoint MCP bases significantly easier to paint, separate from the people. So I just kind of batch paint them all together and go from there. But I think, especially comparing the two, one definitely looks more like leathery than the other. So we're getting somewhere. Iron Man, ooh, that might be a whole thing. I don't know where I'm gonna go with that. It might be a good test, but I feel like he's asking for dry brushing or something, like just a red base, and I don't know. We're gonna have to figure that one out. But I think that is gonna do it for this one. Hopefully next Thursday. Can you not right now? Hopefully next Thursday we could play some games. Maybe we'll come back for painting on Monday. I don't know. Maybe we'll just be painting next Thursday. These days, everything's kind of up in the air, so it is what it is. We are close to getting the first tier partnership, so that might open up memberships and, more importantly, stickers and stuff. I think for chat, I'm a little unsure. I'll have to look into that, but I think we hit that milestone today or tomorrow. Maybe it's kind of delayed, so we'll cross that bridge. Otherwise, I appreciate you guys being here. I will see y'all in the next one. See ya.
The power of the dark side.